Hey guys, Billy here. I'm a multi-gladiator hunter, and this video is the second installment in the series of how to beat every class in the game. And this video explains how you can beat demon hunters as a hunter. If there is anything you'd want me to change or like to see in this series, let me know, and don't forget to subscribe to ensure that you won't miss out on any of the hunter content. You can also catch me live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Billybobbs, and you can join my Discord. I'll put the links to both of these in the description, and I hope you enjoy the video. Firstly, I'll talk about the overall game plan that you should have whilst fighting a demon hunter, and that is that you should just play to survive until all their burst is over. So for example, if they come in and they use meta and then the hunt and you manage to survive all of it, then you're likely to be able to win before they get their next one back. Even if you don't win before their next set of cooldowns, then you're still able to survive and win the game. You just need to make sure that you don't use your defenses randomly or overlap them too much with your healer. However, with BN's consistent damage and pressure, if you're able to keep up time and do damage, then you should be able to kill. To be able to survive versus DH, there's a couple of ways to do it. So I even like to use stuns on the Demon Hunter, kick the DH's I-beam, use concussive shot, using Ross, Turtle, Feign Death, Disengage, Explosive Trap, Chimeral Sting, just to get the DH away from me. Because if they're not next to me, they're not going to be doing any damage. Because they don't really have any ranged abilities to do damage apart from Throw Glaive, but that really doesn't do very much at all. So yeah, if you can just live versus the DH, kite, survive their burst, you can even trade Turtle for their burst. As long as you don't die during their burst, you should be able to win the game. The talents that I'd recommend running against Demon Hunters would be Animal Companion, Scent of Blood, Camouflage, Thrill of the Hunt, Binding Shot, Stomp, and Aspect of the Beast. The only one that's changed here from the normal is Binding Shot, and this is so that when you're going in for a trap, if you Binding Shot them far away from the person you're trapping, they'll not be able to reverse the trap. As for PvP talents, there's a few options you can have for this. I'd say Roar of Sacrifice is pretty mandatory, as if you manage to use this while they hunt, then it will not crit you, and that saves you from taking a lot of damage. Chimeral Sting I really like to run, as it will reduce their movement speed by 90% to make them easier to kite, and reduce their burst damage by 20%. And it also silences them, so if they're trying to I-beam, they wouldn't be able to. Then finally, I like to run Survival Tactics, because this can be extremely good if they're just dealing lots of damage to you and you need to feign death, as then you get the shield for 1.5 seconds. However, you could swap out Chimeral Sting or Survival Tactics for either High Explosive Trap or even Kindred Beasts to allow yourself to freedom yourself more, especially if, say, the Demon Hunter's playing with a Resto Druid or a Resto Shaman. Firstly, I'll be talking about the Hunt, which is the Night Phase signature ability for DH. The Hunt can be faked to try and bait your cooldowns such as Turtle or Feign Death. When they use the Hunt, it does extremely high damage and it's on a 1.5 minute cooldown. It also leaves a dot on you for 6 seconds, and then after the dot for 30 seconds, 25% of the damage the DH does to you, they will heal. So it's extremely powerful as it provides them a lot of self-healing as well as a large burst of damage, which is very dangerous, so it can often be worth using Turtle to outplay this. Or if while they're in the air, you can also use Feign Death. You can trap them in the air, or you can stun them while they're in the air, and that will make the initial hit of the Hunt do no damage. However, the dot will still apply. Secondly, I'll talk about who to CC and who to kill in a Demon Hunter comp. You would normally want to kill the Demon Hunter and then CC the healer. Normally, the CC is you stun into trap, and that is the same as versus Demon Hunter. However, Demon Hunter has an ability called Reverse Magic, which will be shown in the bottom left of the screen now. And what this does is that it reverses all magical effects on the target back to the original caster. So that means when you trap, you either need to try and CC the Demon Hunter so that he cannot reverse, as he cannot reverse when he's stunned. The DH must also be within 10 yards of the target, so if you Binding Shot them far away, they cannot reverse. And since reverse is a minute cooldown, it means that they'll have it for every second trap, so this is something to be wary of when you're going in for a trap. Now I'll talk about Metamorphosis, and this is the DH's main cooldown, and it's on a 4-minute cooldown and it lasts for 30 seconds. And what it does is it allows them to leap through the air towards you and they'll daze you for 3 seconds. Then it'll reset their I-beam and their Blade Dance, and it'll also empower their Chaos Strike and Blade Dance to make them do more damage, and it'll also give them 25% haste for 30 seconds. This is their main offensive ability, so what you need to do is when they use it, you just want to try and kite away from them, and you can do this by either using Concussive Shot, Chimeral Sting, or even using stuns on them, because after this they do not do as much damage, so if you can live the meta and the hunt, then you have a high chance of being able to win. Next I'll talk about Darkness, and this is one of the DH's defensive abilities, and what it does is it makes a zone around the DH where there's a 50% chance that any abilities will cause 0 damage. Darkness is an extremely strong cooldown as it can be used on the entire team and not just the Demon Hunter. So the ways to work around this are you can use Explosive Trap to try and knock the Demon Hunter or his teammates out of the darkness, or you can just try and get lucky and hit into the darkness and hope that the attacks hit them. There's also a legendary called Darkest Hour, which when the DH goes below 35%, they'll have an auto proc of darkness, and some Demon Hunters do run this, so be careful for this. Now we'll talk about Blur, and this is a 1 minute defensive cooldown that increases the dodge chance by 50% as well as reducing damage taken by 20% for 10 seconds. And because it's only on a minute cooldown, it's extremely strong. So what I'd recommend doing is not to pop any cooldowns during Blur because they'll have increased dodge and take less damage, but instead save your cooldowns for after Blur as then they'll be more squishy. Or if you hit them from behind, they're not able to dodge as you can't dodge from behind. Next, I'll talk about Chaos Nova, and this is the DH's AoE stun, and it will stun all enemies within 8 yards for 4 seconds, 3 if you're running Relentless. And the only way to counter this stun is to make sure that you're not stacked with your healer or your other teammates, because if they manage to get a double or a triple stun, then they'll be able to do a lot of damage, which may lead to your team having to use trinkets or cooldowns, which may otherwise not have been necessary. Now we'll talk about the DH's other stun, which is called Fell Eruption, and this is similar to Chaos Nova, however it's a single target stun and it lasts for 4 seconds as well, or 3 seconds if you're running Relentless. It also does a little bit of damage, and there's no real counterplay to this ability. The final ability which I'll be talking about is called Imprison, and this is the DH's incap that will last for 4 seconds, 3 if you're running Relentless. There's also a PvP talent they can run called Detainment, which increases the duration by 1 second, and that when you're imprisoned, you will now be immune to damage and healing. This means it will be similar to a Cyclone from the Druid. The only counterplay to this is that if they're running the Big Imprison, then you will not want to sack yourself during, because then it will not apply as you'll be immune. So that's everything for this video, and I hope you all enjoyed and that it's going to help you successfully beat Demon Hunters. I hope you all have a great day. Peace out.